Tonight I'm going to talk about the leader of the future, and I'm going to touch on some of the stuff we talked about last year around leadership and leadership theory, because frankly it hasn't changed in the last year. Now it's changed in the last 10 to 15 years, absolutely. But I had a client not too long ago say, can you come back and give us another speech on leadership this year, but make it something completely different? No, it hasn't, but we'll go into how it's changed a little bit, and the pendulum has definitely swung. When I started teaching leadership 22, 25 years ago, it was all command and control. It was all men. If your boss said jump, you said, how high, sir? Then the pendulum swung back the other way to leadership by numbers. Everything was head count and efficiency and effectiveness and spreadsheets and EBITDA and all those sort of fun things. Now the pendulum is in a new place, and it's around servant leadership, as you mentioned. It's around authentic leadership. It's around collaborative leadership. It's around EQ as important as IQ, and now a new one I just heard is AQ, your adaptability quotient, which is something even new to me. And as a consultant, I get paid to know these stupid things. So, and I have to charge extra when I can use an extra quotient. But we'll cover all that tonight. But I also have something I want to challenge you at the beginning, which is an idea I just started teaching, something I've thought about for a long time while I've owned companies and run companies, but really something new to me, and it's this. What is your philosophy of business? As Kendall mentioned, I've run several companies, but I also get to be around a lot of CEOs and senior leaders of companies. And just about 3 months ago, I started posing this question in my classes. And what I said is, this is different than the vision of your company. This is different than the values of your company. This is about, if you're, and when I say company, I mean 2 or 3 people, a small team, a group here at the university, a CEO of a multinational company. When you back up, if you're a leader, manager, owner, startup person, you get to set the way the organization runs. So your philosophy of business is, how do I think a business should run? What are my core beliefs about the way commerce should be carried out? I'll give you a couple of examples. I had a client not too long ago, a family-owned company, $1.5 billion company, and they wanted to take it to $3 billion. And the owner came to me and said, we want to be recognized as the best in the world at what we do. And their major competitor was American Express. So you've got a pretty high-level competitor to compete against there. And I said, well, let's stop for a minute. You say you want a high accountability organization that executes with discipline, that's going to double the size of your company in the next 10 years, get $1.5 billion new revenue in, which is a really aggressive target. What is your philosophy of how you run your business? And here's what it was. This is a family-owned business. We've been around for 32 years. The number one thing I reward is loyalty. If you've been here 15, 16, 17, 18 years, you've been with me through the journey, you're on the team forever. If you're loyal, I'm loyal to you. I also want my people to feel safe, that there's not going to be any turmoil. We won't have big layoffs. There wasn't going to be anything major change. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on them. Our industry already has a lot of pressure. We deal with people flying all over the world, flights getting canceled, this getting canceled, hotel room isn't available. They're stressed. We already have enough stress. I don't want to put any more stress on them. And on and on and on like that. I backed up, I said, well, then it's never going to happen. He said, what do you mean? I said, your philosophy of business is around safety and loyalty and family, no pressure, no stress. But to double the size of your company, get to $3 billion, you're going to have to demand excellence and refuse to tolerate mediocrity. So what do you want? Do you want to reward loyalty above all else, or do you want excellence at the highest level you can possibly get? What do you think his answer was? Loyalty. He said, I'll leave the money on the table. We won't grow that big. Maybe we'll only grow to $1 billion or $2 billion or $2.5 billion, which sounds like only $1 billion, but when you're talking about adding $1.5 billion, you go, well, maybe it'll only be 0.5. I'm willing to leave $1 billion on the table because I value loyalty and family more than I value maximizing profits. I was also teaching for a group of startup companies in America 2 or 3 months ago, and one of the CEOs in the front, who's I think owned 11 or 12 companies, Weaver, asked me, is it shareholders first or customers first? Which one is the right philosophy? I said, well, my philosophy is it's employees first. If I hire top talent, I create a great culture for them, engage them, take care of them, grow them, get them excited about taking care of the customer. My employees will take care of the customers. The customers will take care of our bottom line. Our bottom line will make our board of directors happy. But that's my philosophy of business. When interacting with someone a couple of weeks ago, I challenged a whole bunch of CEOs to do this. And I'm walking around, and one of them, I look over his shoulder, has got high touch, customer focus, customer first, close to the customer. One of the other ones has automation, never see the customer, don't deal with the customer, don't talk to customers, let machines handle everything. Good. I'm also looking around, look over this one's shoulder. Co-opetition. I don't believe that there's any competition. I have an abundance mentality. Everybody we deal with are our partners. Even our competitors can be our partners. We worked with a great company this week, Isaac Construction here in town. They have several joint ventures with their major competitors. Think about that. We're going to approach the people we compete with at the highest level and ask them to work together with us on these projects to be highly profitable. That's a unique philosophy of business. Walk over here to the other side of the room. There's a guy that's got one that says, competition is evil, kill them all. If I could hit them with my truck, I would. I'm like, wow, this is slightly different. Now let's take that one level further. What is your philosophy of leadership? That's what I want to talk about this evening. For those of you that were here last year, I'm going to cover a little bit of the leadership stuff because there's only about 20-25% of the room, and it fits right into your comment about your philosophy of leadership and the person you would willingly follow. Well, I've studied this for all my life. I read about 100 business books a year. I have every year since about 1989. So I've read a ton of stuff on leadership. But a couple of years ago, I decided I'd do a research project. And I reached out to 10,000 high potential employees at top companies around the world. These are what I call voluntary employees. They're so good at what they do that if they quit their job at 9 in the morning, they'd have a job at the competition by the next morning. You know, and people like this have options. They know if they're not happy and they don't like what they're doing, they quit, they'll be fine. So I went to them and asked them, what do you look for in a leader you would willingly follow? If you can work anywhere you want to work, why do you work here? And they told me 7 key things, 7 things. And I'll go through them quickly. The first one, and by far the most important, was character. Character. Another word you can use there is integrity, consistency. Inconsistency is one of the most difficult issues that people deal with poor leaders. I reward you for this today. Well, I tell you, interesting. Years ago, I had a friend of mine that said, would you like to learn how to drive a child insane? And I said, no, not really. This is not a skill set I need. You know, and I said, I don't have any of my own kids, and I don't really want to go drive my friends' kids insane. They're insane enough already. But he said, no, you want to learn how to drive a kid insane. He's a psychologist. And I said, well, sure. He goes, here's what you do. On Monday, they do something, you praise them lavishly for that. Oh, you're such a good boy. I'm so proud of you. A is perfect. And the next day, you scream at them for doing the exact same thing. Then the next day, you throw them a party for doing the same thing. Here's balloon, cake, and I love you. And then Thursday, you beat the hell out of them for doing the same thing. By Friday, they're, as my friend in Austria says, schizophrenic. They don't know whether they're going to be praised or punished. It's the same thing with an inconsistent leader. When you don't know, when they shift week to week and you don't know where they're going to be, what happens then is people become fearful. And employees and people rarely do their best work when they're fearful. So character, integrity, consistency, but the absolute most important idea here is honesty. Global research study, 30 years, 4 continents, 3 million respondents. 89% of the people worldwide had the exact same first answer. I want a leader who tells the truth. Single most important one. So that's character. Next one is courage. Courage. And here's what they said. And we had a wonderful discussion today with a group of leaders, again from Isaac Construction, magnificent people. And we talked about the fact that they have to look at people's safety. This is not just leading, but it's leading in dangerous situations. And one of the things we talked about with them is having the courage to be vulnerable, to ask for help. Say, I don't have the answer here. I need some help. I need some input. I need your ideas. A lot of people think that asking for help shows weakness. But what I've learned is the smartest and most successful people I've ever been around are fantastic at asking for help, input, advice, suggestions. Which leads to number 3, communication. And here's what they told me. is I expect my leader to be able to stand up and get people motivated and excited and articulate a clear vision and set the direction. But what I really, really want is a leader who asks great questions and is intensely curious. That they're always trying to learn, grow, improve, learn more, and that they're asking questions and listening and trying to find out what the employees think, what the employees' ideas are. The next one is competence. And here's pretty straightforward. You got to be really good at what you do, highly competent, and you also have to be extremely good at your leadership skills. So there's the two areas of competence. The next one, which I think is really important, especially today, and it goes to this leading by values, authentic leader, and servant leader, is collaboration. And here's what they're saying now. And this is different than 10 or 15 years ago, 20 years ago for sure. I want a leader who 90% of the time treats me as a partner and a peer. We're on the same level. They get in there, they work with me, they roll up their sleeves, shoulder to shoulder, working on stuff. If every now and then they got to pull rank and say, do it because I'm the leader, I'm fine. 15 years ago, do it because I'm the leader. But shut up. Do it because I said so. That doesn't work very much anymore. If you build up the trust of being a partner, a peer, a supporter, authentic, a servant, over and over and over again, that earns you the right every now and then to say, do it because I asked you to do it. I just don't question this. Trust me on this one. Do it because I asked you to do it. And people will put their head down and do the work. Next one's compassion. And this is mostly around millennials. Thank you, those of you in the in the audience. Harry, which I think you're actually a little bit out of the millennial range, probably, or somewhere in there. 20. You're 20? 20. Then you're almost at the bottom of the millennial range. You're damn near a Z or whatever they call them now. Their idea was, I have a life. I mean, I'll work with you. I'll do the work you need to do, but I have a life outside of here. You got to be compassionate to that. Harry, we talked briefly. What is your business?
Wine labels.
Wine labels. But it's an interesting because it's a social enterprise model. In other words, we're doing it to give all the money away. We're doing it to change the world, to make a difference, which is, we're going to talk about this in a little while. I won't kill my slide. But this is someone, he's a great example, who says, I'll work hard for your company, I'll do this, but I'm going to go home later and I'm going to make wine. And I'm going to save animals. And I'm going to make an impact in the world. As Steve Jobs said, I want to make a dent in the universe. I want to really change things and make things better. And then the last one, and the major reason I'm here tonight, and the major reason that Kendall brings me to places like this, and David and everyone, is contribution. And the phrase I use there that I love is, you must plant the seeds of trees under which you may never sit. That a true leader doesn't focus on short-term gains, they focus on long-term legacy. They invest in people and in their community and building more leaders and creating a legacy of leadership and leaving the place better than they found it. When I look at some American companies, we in our country oftentimes are very short-sighted. We make very short-sighted decisions. What are we going to do to make our numbers this month, this quarter, today, in the last hour? Right? I mean, it's just constantly this beating pace. And we've had a couple of companies recently that have gotten in an awful lot of trouble because of that. One, and I won't name it, but got in a lot of trouble with their customers. It was a financial institution. Had to go in and lay off 5,000 managers, wipe out a whole layer. CEO, though, got a $228 million bonus package as he exited the company. Runs it in the ground, does stuff illegal, 5,000 people lose their jobs, he gets $250 million to leave the company. This has not set a very good leadership example. Some of the companies I've worked with in Japan, the CEO does not get paid their bonus until 15 years after they leave the company based on the stock price 15 years out, which means you sit at your desk and make 20-year decisions. That is a completely different philosophy of business. That's a completely different philosophy of leadership to say, I still don't sit at my desk and say, how can I max my profits by the end of this quarter? I sit at my desk and go, how can I lead these people in this company so it will be stronger 20 years from today than it is today? David mentioned this a little bit earlier in about leadership and some different ways we look at it. I got asked not too long ago, what is my definition of leadership? And we've heard 1,000 of them. Here's mine. When you're a living example of what you hope your followers will one day become. When every day, everything you do, every action you take, your leadership philosophy is based on being a role model for what you hope the folks that follow you will one day become. It's one of the reasons I love leadership, is it makes me a better person than I actually am. Left to my own devices, I could be lazy. I might not have a good day. As someone that I talked to was one of the top psychiatrists in America, she'd been practicing for 50 years. And she was in her late stages, ill health, probably wasn't going to make it. And I went in to visit her in her office, Dr. Korb, and I said, Dr. Korb, you've helped thousands and thousands of people in your life. You've taken people that were really on the verge of just personal destruction and taken them back to personal success. What's the single most important thing you've ever learned? It's a big question, isn't it? She didn't hesitate. She looked right at me and said, John, people do what seems easy and convenient, not what is best for them. Being a leader is not easy or convenient because you always have to do what's best for your followers. Big challenge there. I'm going to open up the floor at the end here for about 15 or 20 minutes of Q&A. And I really hope there's a lot of questions because I don't want to just sit up here and lecture the whole evening. I'd rather have a conversation. With that said, let me go to the next slide. So this is where I see things moving around leadership and around leading people. In every organization you work in, they should have these things. A vision, mission, values, and this new one is sort of a key idea. And Harry, your company focus, I'm going to pick on you all night. But I thought it was cool. I walk in, oh, you work at John Deere. It says Harry on his shirt. It's like, no, I was at a secondhand shop, just looked cool, happened to have my name on it. That's a pretty millennial thing to say. So vision is how I look at this. Vision is where do we want to take the organization? And here's a really important point. If you lead one person, they look to you to set the vision for the two of you. Vision is not the CEO or the board of directors or the senior management team. Yeah, they set a vision for the organization, and yours has to align to it. But vision is not the purview of only the top people. Everybody in the organization who leads anybody has to have a vision for the two of us, the four of us, the 10 of us. Where are we going? What's the direction? So every leader has to have, and it's a vivid, compelling, and here's the key words here, well-communicated vision. You got to talk about it. You got to get people on board. You got to get people sharing. Mission, to me, is why are we doing this? And another way I like it is, who would miss you if you shut down business tomorrow? Who would miss you if you didn't show up tomorrow? Those are the people on your mission that you're serving. Values are pretty straightforward, and one of Kendall's partners, Simon Mundell, said something to me the other day. It's a little hard to understand at first, but once you grasp it, it makes a lot of sense. And he said that values and culture are the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves. This is what we do. Here's how we act. This is what this company believes in. This is our philosophy of business. These are the values we base all our decisions on. And David specifically wanted me to talk tonight about values-driven leadership. Here's why I think this is so critical. Walt Disney quote, and I have a lot of favorite quotes. Here's another one of my favorite quotes. When values are clear, decisions are easy. When as a leader, you've got that clear philosophy of leadership. You've established your leadership values. You've got values in your company. People can make even the most difficult decisions quickly. In your own personal life, when you've got your own leadership philosophy and you're faced with a dilemma, it's pretty easy to look at your values and go, what should I do here? And the values will tell you. The reverse is, leaders without values, even the most simple decision is difficult because they don't know what to base it on. Same thing in your organization. If you don't have clear organizational values, if you don't have a strong culture, people cannot make the tough decisions because they don't know what outcome they're supposed to be driving for. And then here's the last one, and it's the one you're a great example of, and I'm sure many other people in the audience are, but this is the number one driver of younger workers today. The folks the regular undergraduates coming out of this university say, I want to work for a company with a strong purpose. I will take that over pay. I will take that over position. I will take that over power or authority. What I want is to make a difference every day at a very high level. This changes the way we have to lead people. It isn't command and control. It isn't power. It isn't authority. It isn't prestige. It isn't becoming a zillionaire. Yes, there's still some people that want to do that, and that's fine. But now what we have is a whole bunch of people that say, no, I want to work for a company with a strong purpose. I want to feel good and I want to feel connected to what I do every day. I want to make a difference in the world. So, culture. Here's another one of my phrases from a business standpoint: culture equals cash. In most organizations, the one place that you can have the highest impact is in changing the culture. I've always known this in my career, in my life, but this really came into sharp focus in just the last couple of years. As goes the senior leadership team, so goes the entire company. If you've got a strong, focused, values-driven leadership team, they can take even a mediocre company and make it great. The reverse is, if you've got a dysfunctional, non-values-driven, selfish leadership group of command and control who don't get along and infight, they can destroy an entire company. We've got a client, my wife and I, in the United States, with about 160 employees, 8 people on their senior management team, 8 senior leaders. 3 of them don't get along. On Friday, everybody goes home, has no idea what's going on. On Monday, the company does not exist anymore. Now, that's not just the 167 people. That's their husbands, their wives, their kids, the community, the businesses that sold to that business. 2 or 3 people can't get along, don't lead well, and 1,000 people are impacted. Some of them at a very high level of, how am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to pay, for my food this week because I was just barely making it? Another reason I think leadership is so important: it's not title, it's not position, it's a huge responsibility. And there's a lot of people that depend on you. So culture is one of the things from a leadership team and organization that holds it together. Here are the 9 factors of building the kind of culture that employees want. And there's 2 sides to culture. There's the side the employees want, and there's the side that the leaders want. The employees want what I've got behind me. The leaders want, I can make it in a very clear, short sentence here: people with an ownership mentality. People that treat the organization, the business, as if it were their own. That look at every dollar that comes and say, how can I maximize revenue, increase impact, increase market share, customer satisfaction, decrease costs, but what can I do every day to come in? And I call these intrapreneurs, not entrepreneurs. They're entrepreneurial inside of the company. I just got a new phrase for these. It's awesome. The guy said they're insultants. They're inside consultants. So I want entrepreneurs and insultants in my team. And what attracts them? This. First, is it a fun place to work? Do I enjoy the work I do? Am I having fun? Is it engaging? And the best measure of this, if you're a great leader, is, do your people smile just as much when they come in as when they leave? When they get out of their car, are they excited to be there, excited to see their friends, excited to do their work? And at the end of the day, do they leave smiling, enjoying themselves? This is the sign of an effective culture and effective leader. Number 2 is, it's got a family atmosphere. We genuinely care about each other. Again, 15, 20 years ago, not so much. People didn't really care. Today, workers demand from their leaders that this be an organization where I feel comfortable, I feel safe, I have family. Now, a family atmosphere. Now, let me balance this out. This is for the general population. I got to see Reuben Thorne of the All Blacks this week a couple times, saw him today. And one of the things we chatted about with the All Blacks is, this isn't a normal company. It's like Kendall with his friends from Special Forces, from the military. These aren't normal people. They're well, yes, they're freakish, I understand that. But look at this. People love to use sports teams as an analogy for leadership. I got that, except for one thing. How long have the people that play for the All Blacks been preparing to play on that team? Their entire lives. They've dedicated everything in their life to that. They've spent thousands of hours training, running, practicing. They have an unbelievable level of discipline. They have tremendous commitment. They have a purpose that's unbelievable. Leave the jersey better than we found it. They know the whole country is watching. The whole world is watching. That's a little bit different motivation and team than the normal organization gets. So if you're going to try to achieve excellence and you're leading people, you got to understand that it's going to be a fairly aggressive culture. It won't be this kind of culture, but it will attract elite players. But you don't see that very often. I've got a young man I'm coaching that wants to become one of the top 10 chefs in the world. And I had breakfast with him not a couple of months ago, or about a year ago. He now lives out in San Francisco, and I live in Florida. And he asked me this question: John, if I become one of the top 10 chefs in the world, will anybody who works for me like me? I said, no, you'll be a complete asshole. And he goes, I'm okay with that. And I said, the reason is, to be at that level, you will have to demand a level of excellence that is uncomfortable for 99.9% of the people. The people who work for you will be a completely different type of freak than the normal freak. They're going to be really dedicated. So in a normal organization, we're looking at someplace with a family atmosphere where I work with my friends, sometimes people I would consider my best friends. I'm treated fairly, and really what this means is my voice is heard. That my leader cares about my concerns and my issues and my challenges, and if I've got a problem or a concern or something comes up, my leader is going to listen to me, take care of me, support me, which comes up a little bit later. I'm given the training, support, the resources I need, and then the freedom to go out and do what I need to do. Hire top talent, train them well, empower them, get out of the way, let them go be successful. No micromanagement. If I'm good and I'm smart, I don't want my leader telling me what to do. Especially when the way I'm going to do it is going to get the same outcome, if not a better one. And I know I can go this way and get the exact same outcome, but my boss has always done it this way. And they want you to do it that way. Leaders today go, no, you're smart, you're great, we've helped you, you figure it out. As long as it's prudent, ethical, legal, in the best interest of our customers and our company, I don't care, you handle it yourself. Different leadership style than in the past. Take pride in the organization. I get some sort of praise, often about once a week. And then these two new ones have just been added. Thank you, millennials, again. Meaning, and actually the word is accomplishment, but it doesn't fit in that little bubble. But here's what they say is, I want to make a difference. I want my job to be meaningful. And from a leadership standpoint, in today's world, that means you have to find a way to connect with what you do to something that's important. There's two ways to do that, or three ways. Number one is it's obvious. I work in a hospital. We save people's lives. Medtronics in America, a very famous company, makes defibrillators. It's pretty simple. This person is alive because we made a defibrillator for him. This family still has a dad or a mom. That's meaningful. Number two is you dig a little bit deeper and bring the meaning as a leader to your people. I worked with an organization in America, my wife and I are business partners, one of the very best organizations we work with, and they make gearboxes. Not exactly sexy, right? Big giant boxes. They run oil rigs and nuclear submarines and giant air conditioning units, and it's greasy and dirty with ball bearings and all that kind of stuff. And it was hard to see the meaning. And then my friend who's the CEO, they bought a helicopter gear company. Again, this little box that sits on the rotor. And they brought in one of their top clients, who was their number one client, actually was the Department of Defense, because they made gearboxes for Apache helicopters. And they're like, okay, here comes our number one customer who spends $100 million a year with us. They're going to talk about how blah, 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 blah. The general comes in from the Pentagon, one of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, walks to the front of the room, looks out at everybody and says, both of my sons fly Apache helicopters in Iran and Afghanistan. Don't kill my children. And he walked out. And everybody said, we don't build gearboxes. We protect our country and we save people's lives. Little bit different. That's the kind of leadership that's required today. Not just get it done, get the numbers, but get it done because we make a difference. The last one is, if the company really doesn't do anything that interesting or that exciting or that meaningful for what their product or service is, then do you do something important outside of there? Do you have the most people that get together for the breast cancer walk? Or do you build homes for Habitat Humanity or Ronald McDonald House or something where you say, my job is menial, but what I do through my company is very meaningful. But I will tell you that contemporary leadership, this idea of purpose, of meaning, of accomplishment, of results, of connection, is essential. Without it, you will not be able to motivate the people that are coming into the workforce. I wanted to quickly just do this one. I've got a few that I want to throw up and just talk about briefly. This is the idea of high freedom versus high focus. And down here in the lower, for you guys, lower right-hand quadrant, high freedom, low focus. I have no idea where we're going, but you kids go have fun. I've got no direction, but I'm going to let you go to, this is not going to work real good. The next one over here, low freedom, low focus. I have no idea where we're going, but you better do what I say. I don't know what I'm doing, but you better follow my directions. We've all been there, not a lot of fun. Upper left-hand corner, low freedom, high focus. I know exactly where we're going, and you will do exactly what I tell you to do. You have no choice in the matter. Resistance is futile, like the Borg. You know, you will be assimilated. I know where we're going. Don't say anything, just do it. Leaders today are high freedom, high focus. They're the ones that say, here's our vision, here's our values, here's our culture, here's our purpose, here's where we're all going together. Now you guys go do it. Let's do it together. Let's do it as a team. Let's do it as partners and peers. So this is a shift because we've seen in the past, a lot of leadership fell in that high focus, low freedom, or low freedom, low focus. And those are not effective places to lead from. Wanted to just run through some of these for just ideas to make you think. This is an interesting power because a lot of people have to lead without authority. I gotta get people motivated, excited, get them to, especially if you're in a volunteer organization. Yeah, I ran one for 6 years, one of the Rockefeller Foundations. We had lots of volunteers. Some of them were amazing. Some of them were total shit, but there was nothing I could do about it because they were volunteers. But the way you impact that is I have no formal authority, but I need to get these people to do stuff. Here's what it is. Organizational power. It's my title, my position, my seniority, whatever I have. You can still use a little bit of that, but I said it earlier. This isn't going to work. This is command and control. It won't work for a long time. They used to call this militaristic leadership, but Kendall and some of the people that are in the military with him back there will tell you, you can't just order people around all the time. There's got to be some connection. There's got to be some collaboration. There's got to be some respect. So I've got that organizational power, but I don't want to use it very much. And sometimes I don't have it at all. The next one is personal power. This is charisma, energy, IQ, EQ, which is your emotional quotient. This is a big one is your vocabulary. How well can you speak? How articulate you are? But these are sort of the things that people are attracted to you. Some of us don't have any of this. You know, I'm one of the ones. I got like no EQ. You know, I just don't care. I don't like people. I don't like any of you. No, I have a pretty low EQ, but here's what I've learned. You can work on it. It can be improved. You can figure out, you can make yourself think a little bit more about the other person, have empathy, have care, have concern. At first, for people like me, I'm a very high introvert, believe it or not. I get really nervous around people, so especially leading people, I had to learn to have EQ. And it's something that's going to get more and more important. They're really saying that in the future, EQ will be as important or more important than IQ. That the collaboration is more than control. The last one is the one that is really the leadership model, I believe, of the contemporary leader and the leader of the future, which is relational power. Do it because we know each other. Do it because we trust each other. Do it because you believe in me and I'm consistent and we've spent time together. We have history. We've been around each other a lot. Do it because of my values and my integrity and my respect for you, not because I tell you to or because I can use a lot of fancy words. There's a model that I use for this that I stole, so I got to say this. This model comes from a book called The Trusted Advisor by, Charles Green. Okay, what's the name of the book? Who's it written by? Good, I won't be sued now. And I'm not kidding you. If I use it, I get a letter. I heard you talked about my equation and you didn't give me credit. I gave credit, Charles. His equation is this. C plus R, do it backwards for you guys now. C plus R plus I divided by SO. C plus R plus I over SO. Here's what it is. You want to build trust as a leader? You want to have this EQ, empathy thing? Here's what it is. C stands for competence. You got to be really, really good at what you do. And you got to be good as a leader. High levels of competence, constantly improving. Personal Kaizen. R stands for reliability. Can I take your word to the bank? Do I know that when you say something, you're going to deliver? You do what you say you're going to do. And the I, relational power, is intimacy. Do I know you as an individual? Have we spent time together? Have we spent enough time together that over that time, you have clearly demonstrated that you're reliable and you're competent? You take all of those and you divide it by SO, which is self-orientation. How much is it about me in this relationship? If you were to plug numbers in there between 1 and 10, it should be 10, 10, 10, 1. I'm very competent, getting better every day. I'm highly reliable. You can believe in me. You can trust me. And you've known this for a long time because we have a relationship, not only at our office, but we do other things together. We see each other other places, and you've come to trust me over time. And in our relationship, you always put me first. Not myself, but you. So I wrote a book on leadership. Let me give you my entire philosophy of leadership in one sentence. Here it is. I'm good at what I do, and I do it because I care about you. That's it. I'm competent. I'm trying to get better every day. I'm reading, I'm studying, I'm learning. This isn't my job. It's not even just my profession. It's my life. It's my purpose. It's my craft. And I do all of this to be of service to you. Huge recent Harvard research study. 17,000 senior executives of companies around the world and 2,000 CEOs. They looked at them and figured out there's 4 things the very best CEOs did. 4 things. Number 1, they decide with speed and conviction. I make good, quick decisions based on my values, based on our culture, based on our vision. And then once I make the decision, I stand behind it. I don't waffle. I don't go back. I'm consistent, not inconsistent. One of the folks they interviewed said this, and I loved it. When I have to make a big decision, here's the 2 questions I ask myself. If I make it right now, how bad could it hurt? How much could I screw up? How much would it cost? Then the other question I weighed against, if I don't make the decision now, who am I creating stress and pain for within the organization? Am I the bottleneck? And he said, if the decision now doesn't hurt that bad, I make it right now. If I'm going to be the bottleneck, and I make it now. But if it doesn't hurt, if it hurts bad and I'm not the bottleneck, let's wait a little while. But the idea here is speed and conviction. Number 2, engaging for impact. This is in the business and in the individual's lives. I want to take our organization, our charity, our church, our synagogue, our whatever it might be, or our business, our corporation, and I want to make an impact with that. But really is, I want to make an impact on my people. I want to change their lives. I want to create a company that creates more leaders. The next one was adapting proactively, and I thought this was neat. This was, I'm reading, studying, learning. I'm looking at information outside of my area of expertise, outside of my industry, taking what we would call lateral thinking or the adjacent new, bringing it in and constantly adapting, changing, and growing. I use an equation to teach this. I'm choked up. This leadership stuff's got me. Excuse me. And that's going to be great on the video. People are like, la, 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 ah. Adapting proactively says, I got to be faster than everybody else. And the equation I use is II greater than EI. And here's what that means. To be successful in the future, the rate of internal innovation must exceed the rate of external innovation. If I'm going to lead my organization, we got to be faster, quicker, more creative, more innovative, and execute better than anyone we compete against. If I'm going to be an effective leader myself, I have to out-innovate every other leader around me. And this idea is I'm changing and adapting before it's required, before there's a need, before the market forces me to, I'm out in front of it. I will tell you right now that only about 8% of leaders, okay, I'm sorry, 8.3%, just kidding. 8 or 10% of leaders do this well. 90% are reactive. They don't take the time. They don't reflect. They aren't intentional enough. Very, very serious problem with leaders today. And then the last one is they deliver reliably. Whatever I said I was going to do, I deliver it. Numbers, people, market share. I got to do the leadership part, which is grow the organization. This is another one that I really liked. This is a Google study they did with MIT Management, Sloan Management. And what Google did is they looked at 15,000 leaders in their organization at all levels. And they looked at the ones that were rated the highest. They surveyed them. They looked for ones that won recognition awards, that had the highest 360s, the highest feedback for their entire organization. And because Google loves data, they compiled a massive amount on data on what builds a great team in an organization. How do you lead a great team? Here it is behind me. Number 1, got to have psychological safety. Microsoft has a great way they teach this. Be tough on ideas, easy on people. If you throw a wild idea out, you're safe. We're not going We're not going to yell or scream at you, embarrass you, but we are going to do everything we can to make that idea better. The next one, you see it again, dependability, same as reliability. And I love redundancy, by the way, because it shows the pattern. And if I can go to a Google study and a Harvard study and my study at 10,000 and a couple others, and I look at it and they all line up, I go, good, now I can trust the data. Because now I got 4 million people that say the same thing. So dependability, reliability, structure and clarity. Here is one of the major leadership imperatives going forward. You've got to set clear expectations. You've got to help people succeed. Meaning, and then the last one, meaning of work and impact of work, which is, are we doing something important? Or are we making a difference? You're probably starting to see the pattern here. And here's the key idea. This is not the way leadership was 10 years ago. Worrying about purpose and impact and meaning and collaboration and values and culture, big shift for a contemporary leader. I want to end with two last slides, or a couple slides, just going over the two major schools of thought right now. When I look across all the organizations and all the academics I deal with, the two big leadership ideas that are really at the forefront right now, and they've been around for a while, but they are really coming back, is authentic leadership and servant leadership. So I just want to give you a couple slides here that clearly detail what those are. Authentically, and by the way, I see a bunch of you taking pictures. Please keep doing that. Absolutely fine. Take my logo off, go out, start your own speaking business, travel around the world. I got no problem with that. I think this guy up here, like, I already did download them, and I got a class here tomorrow. But I'm going to put up a text number for Advisory Works at the end. You can get all these slides. And if you need something else from me, you just call them or you call me, and I will get it for you. So please take the photos, but every one of you know you can get these slides or any other help you need later. Here's what the attributes are of an authentic leader. They're self-aware and genuine. They are mission-driven, but still focused on results. They lead with their heart, not just their minds, empathy, EQ, and IQ, and they focus on the long term. You're starting to see the pattern. The next one is servant leadership. And this was invented by a guy named Greenleaf, Dr. Greenleaf. And this was, I believe, in the 60s or early 70s. And it had some popularity. Then it sort of sat on the fringes. Now this is all the rage. This is really what folks are focused on around the idea of turning the pyramid upside down. Used to be the CEO at the top and the workers down the front line. Now it's the CEO at the bottom and the workers who are the ones who make the business run successfully. And the number one job of the CEO is to serve the company, not the way it used to be. Big shift around leadership. So here's a couple things they do. They're a person of character. They're principle-centered decisions. They're values-driven. They demonstrate humility. What a neat idea. I would say some. Oh, Sheila, look at me. I would say something about our president here, about honesty and humility, but my wife says not a good thing to bring that up. The guy's crazy. Anyways, they display a server's heart. They're mentor-minded. They show care and concern. And I love, read the pillars. Person of character puts people first. Skilled communicator, listens but speaks effectively. Empathy, communication. They're compassionate collaborator. This is a whole different way to look at leadership for contemporary leaders and leaders into the future. They've got foresight, they've got vision, they're looking ahead, they're looking long term. Where do I want to bring my people? Where do I want to bring the organization? Where are we going together? They're a systems thinker. This is not only but I can look at process and procedures and systems and platforms and frameworks and use those to build a better organization for my people. There's a big thing going now with holacracy and teal organizations. How many of you have heard of this? Okay, a few of you. This is organizations with absolutely no rank or title across the entire company. Nobody has power, nobody has position, nobody has authority, nobody has a title. I'm Bob. That's it. They tried this at Zappos, Tony Hsieh, and the outcome so far has not been so good. 28% of their management team quit because they couldn't work without a title. They needed the power, the prestige, the authority, and they just couldn't work in that environment. But it's something you're starting to see more and more companies move towards. I don't know if it's going to work. Frankly, I don't think it will. And then the last one, this is values-centered, honesty, integrity, reliability, consistency. And this last one is really everything we talked about today. Everything we want to do in collect contemporary leadership, leader of the future. I think this this one really does. So, last one, this is what I want to tell you as a leader. Where all these circles intersect is where you, in my opinion, should find your leadership field. What you want to do, where you want to play, who you're going to help. You love it, you're passionate about it, your mission, there you go. The world needs it and you love it, it's your mission. The world needs it, you're paid for it, it's your vocation. You're great at it and you're paid for it, it's your profession. You're great at it, you love it, it's your passion. Where all those intersect is your purpose. And today I honestly believe that leaders of the future have to be purpose-driven. And they have to create purpose-driven organizations based on values and meaning to attract, retain the best people, and grow the best companies.